So if you are a learner who hates using flashcards for memorizing new words, and or you're a visual learner, and or you are simply learning for a new way to engage with learning vocabulary, I have loved this trick that I've been using recently to learn 30 or more words per day in Arabic. I also love this method because I know with actually making the flashcards, it can feel like it's a really tiring process, and then when we actually get to studying after we make the flashcards, then we don't have as much energy to actually study. With this process, you can make it a cognitively demanding task and still be able to look back and review as if it were a flashcard set, but even better. Now here I'm talking about a map of vocabulary words, and this isn't necessarily a new concept, and I knew about this method before, but I had never really tried it until my teacher started using it directly with us in class to review vocabulary. The first thing you need before you even make the map itself is you do need some sort of vocabulary list. Now this can be your own vocabulary personal list. If you're kind of confused about what you should be putting in your personal list, do take a look at this video after watching this video, because I talk about how to pick out the right things to put in your list. But for now, let's go back to a vocabulary list that was already pre-made for me. And what I mean by that is if you are using a resource, any sort of textbook or curriculum or different program for your language, there is bound to be a vocabulary list somewhere that's already prepared. And because it's already prepared, there's probably some sort of relationship between those words. That is the most important thing when you're using a vocabulary list that you want to use a map with. We'll make sure to talk about different strategies of how to create, manufacture a relationship between those words, even though right now you're looking at the list and you're like, there's no relationship, I can't do this strategy. With this example, I'm going to be using my vocabulary list from chapter 13 of one of my books. This is actually from the Al-Kitab book, if you are interested, learning Levantine Arabic, Egyptian Arabic, or MSA Arabic at the same time. So if these are totally new words in the list, I will go through and listen to the audio if my resource does come with an audio, and or I will read through and pronounce out loud to work on my pronunciation each word. I might do this anywhere from 3 to 6 times actually, depending on my comfort level of the words. We do want to make sure we're upping more of the cognitive demand here. If we go into making a map straight away and we haven't even looked at the words that we want to put on the map yet, then we'll have a lot more trouble, and the process of actually making the map might feel a little bit more frustrating, because this is where, once we do make the maps, the active review and recall of words actually comes in. So I would not skip on doing a really thorough review of your words before. The really good thing about this textbook is that each chapter follows a family that is doing different things in their lives. So in this chapter, we're talking more about settling into a new place and what we might do in our daily lives. After reviewing all of my words, I would write down the title of the chapter that I'm in. Now, after that, without looking at your list, you're going to think about the different words, right? What are these subcategories that I might be able to list some of the words that I'm remembering right now in? Okay, I just learned a few vocabulary verbs for describing things in terms of work, right? So we had learned to finish, also to fire, also to fail. So I would probably write in the subcategory circle as a branch off of our main circle, amal, which means in Fusha, job. That is definitely a part of getting settled in and part of daily life. And then to that verb, I could think, I think I also learned a verb that was kind of the opposite of getting fired. That would be to encourage. Next, I might think of different opportunities that I would have after being settled in a place that I enjoy. That could mean meeting new people, to which I could probably write down, nice to have met you. I could probably also add just the word fursa, opportunity, to get to do something in a new place. And then I would start to think about, again, are there any words that I am remembering from my short-term memory that I can put into another circle, branching off of opportunity, because that's a really big general word for a subcategory. I could put homesickness, right? So maybe that there is a possibility to go home because I'm feeling homesickness. I might also write the verb to desire, to wish to, right? To have the opportunity to do something. I might also write the word theater, being on stage, having the opportunity to perform. Again, you can kind of see how I'm personalizing this list to my own memory, right? If you take the same list and you start to make your own mind map, and your friend also takes the same list and starts to make theirs, you might see that there are definitely differences in between your mind maps, and that is perfectly okay, because this mind map that we're doing is really helping you find really personalized links between all of the words, and they might look different from person to person. I also might put a branch of another word, dream, right under fırsa, right? So we get the opportunity to fulfill our dream or dreams. I always try to also write the plural wherever I can, because depending on the language, we're going to have some irregular plurals. So do make sure to write those down as well when you're making your map. I could also put to finish under fırsa, right? So the opportunity to finish something. So again, I'll keep on doing this and branching out from these subcategories. This can really cater to my energy. I always make sure to do mind maps of my new vocabulary words on high energy days, right? I am ready to go, I feel productive. And then on low energy days, I can always go back to my mind maps and review the words just like that and have a really good visual representation. And I found that I wasn't forcing as much memorization with the words because I was starting to make more meaning out of them. Here I will say I did have a few words that were more grammar-like, right? That were introducing a new grammar concept that we would talk further about in the book. I would make sure to write down an extra sort of subcategory of extra words that didn't really fit into any of the other subcategories that I wrote down on my map, such as the word for still or the word for likewise or also. Now, it is more than normal to feel like, oh my gosh, I feel like there is one or two more words on the tip of my tongue and I, for the life of me, cannot remember them. If I want to challenge myself less, then I will just get to go directly back to the list and see what words I was missing and that I couldn't pull out and actively recall them. Or if I want to challenge myself more, then on a really high energy day, before I even make the mind map, I will write sort of like small hints that describe the word but don't give me the word exactly, right? That's kind of like having a teacher in class. When we would stumble on not quite remembering one of the last words in our list, and we were towards the end of the mind map, our teacher would help us out with like, okay, giving us hints here and there, what might this word be, until we finally got it and could actively recall it. Sometimes we don't have that when we're doing this all by ourselves, so it might be helpful for you to just write down a small hint or two for each of your words, or words that you feel like you're going to have a hard time remembering in advance. For example, if I knew that I would have a hard time remembering the word in Arabic for position or job, I might pick out a synonym for that, saying career, right? And once I was in my sort of mind map building process, then I could look back at the hint only instead of feeling like I was cheating myself and not giving myself an active chance to recall it. To make sure that if we have our personal word list especially, and there's not a lot of relationships that we can automatically find with this group, then there are different ways to go about it, right? We can always pick different themes for our mind maps. Let's say that your personal vocab list has to do more with even small sentences that are using different cases in German. So you can really drill down the case system of that part of grammar. You can write in your main circle just German grammar cases, then make 4 subcategories of dative, accusative, nominative, and genitive. And then even off of those subcategories, again, make your branches of the sample sentences that you had that exemplify the use of each of those 4 cases in German. Maybe even color coding them and pointing out what is genitive, maybe in green, what is dative in blue, etc. If you have completely kind of random words, then you can always think about a story that you can make with those words, right? And we can get as crazy with our stories as we want. So that means this will work with any sort of mind map when making your vocabulary list. You could start with my trip to Berlin. I'm gonna give you guys more German examples because I guess that's what's on my mind today. And you can, if you had maybe some vocabulary related to fruit, or some vocabulary related to relationships, some vocabulary related to transport that you had just in one big list that you wanted to memorize, you can fit all of that, right, into just one story about your trip to Berlin. Use the transport, you can still eat different fruit or do something with the fruit. You can still create a story about meeting someone there, right, in Germany, so you can use your vocabulary to talk about relationships, okay? So there's a lot of different ways that you can adjust this mind map to yourself and to any sort of words that you want to and make connections out of them. You can also color code these maps. I did explain a little bit of how you might want to do that with grammar in German. However, you can also do any sorts of color coding with different things that you want to work on in the language, maybe that you have trouble memorizing. I hope you enjoyed the video, you guys. Make sure to subscribe if you do enjoy this kind of content. Other than that, I'll see you next time in another video soon.